The Assembly will come back to order. Go to Order Business 8. Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. Under Order Business 8, I move that Assembly Bill 65 be withdrawn from the Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections.
You've all heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, still under Order Business number 8, I move that Assembly Bill 65 be referred to your Committee on Ways and Means.
Without objection, so referred.
Now, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem, I'll move that the Assembly stand in recess and until call of the Chair or Speaker Pro Tem.
You've all heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay. We are in recess.
Okay, Ways and Means, we are going to meet. Hey, before we go live, can I give you guys a rundown before we go live? Okay, so we're going to pull a bill back because we need to, we forgot to attach the appropriation. So we're going to pull it back, attach the appropriation, and then re-vote it again, right? And then I've got we're going to vote on the K through 12 bill, so the big education bill. We're going to introduce the appropriations bill and send it to Ways. And then chairs, all the amendments you got, go ahead and do those, okay? And then what we'll do when we're done is Ways has to go back in because now that we'll refer the appropriations bill to Ways, now we've got to go hear it in committee, vote it out on committee, then come back down to floor so that we can put it onto the chief clerk's desk because we traditionally let that bill sit for 24 hours so the public can review it. So we want to start the clock on that tonight. So we got a little bit more work to do. Does that all make sense? Okay, chairs, any questions? Don't ask me to repeat it. Huh? You want me to do it in Spanish? No, my Spanish is bad.
Assembly will come back to order. I think we'll go first to order business 4, reports of standing committees.
Mr. Speaker, Committee on Judiciary, to which was referred Senate Bill 165, has had the same under consideration and begs leave to report the same back to the recommendation to pass. And your Committee on Judiciary, to which was referred Senate Bill 219, has had the same under consideration and begs leave to report the same back to the recommendation and do pass as amended. Steve Yeager, Chair. Mr. Speaker, Committee on Revenue, to which was re-referred Assembly Bill 363, has had the same under consideration and begs leave to report the same back to the recommendation and do pass as amended. Leslie E. Cohen, Chair. Mr. Speaker, Committee on Ways and Means, to which was re-referred Assembly Bill 225, has had the same under consideration and begs leave to report the same back to the recommendation to pass as amended. And your Committee on Ways and Means, to which were re-referred Assembly Bills 376, 427, has had the same under consideration and begs leave to report the same back to the recommendation to pass as amended. And your Committee on Ways and Means, to which was re-referred Assembly Bill 126, has had the same under consideration and begs leave to report the same back to the recommendation and do pass as amended. And your Committee on Ways and Means, to which was re-referred Assembly Bill 224, has had the same under consideration and begs leave to report the same back to the recommendation and do pass as amended. And your Committee on Ways and Means, to which was re-referred Assembly Bill 230, has had the same under consideration and begs leave to report the same back to the recommendation and do pass as amended. Maggie Carlton, Chair.
I think we'll go to order business 8, Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Under Order Business 8, I move the Assembly reconsider the vote whereby Assembly Bill 321 passed.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Sorry. Order Business number 8, still, Mr. Speaker.
Order business 8.
I move that Assembly Bill 381 be placed to the top of general file for the purposes of amendment.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Assembly Bill 321.
Thank you,
Sorry.
321.
13.
Thank you. I have one more Order Business 8, Mr. Speaker, if we could do that real quick.
Order Business 8.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Assembly suspend Assembly Standing Rule 52.5 regarding notices of bills, topics, and public hearings.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Nay. Nay.
Now, Mr. Speaker, if we could go to Order Business 12 and
I think we have 9.
9, great.
We'll go to Order Business 9, introductions.
Assembly Bill 494, introduced by the Committee on Ways and Means, enacting state financial administration, making appropriations from the state general fund to the state highway fund for the support of the civil government of the state of Nevada for the 2021-2023 biennium, providing for the use of the money so appropriated, making various other changes relating to the financial administration of the state, and providing other matters properly thereto.
Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that Assembly Bill 494 be referred to your Committee on Ways and Means.
Without objection, so referred. Go to Order Business 12.
Assembly Bill 321, introduced by Assemblyman Ferguson and Benitez Thompson, enacting to elections, establishing procedures for the use of mail ballots in every election, establishing various requirements relating to mail ballots, revising the requirements for signature verification of mail ballots, revising the deadline to submit the request for the establishment of a polling place within an Indian reservation or Indian colony for an election, revising the personal data that may be requested if a voter's signature is challenged at the polls, requiring the Secretary of State to enter into a cooperative agreement with the State Registrar of Vital Statistics to obtain certain information relating to the statewide voter registration list, authorizing a county clerk, city clerk, or registrar of voters, and deputies thereof charged with powers and duties relating to elections to request certain information, be maintained in a confidential manner, repealing provisions relating to absent ballots, mailing ballots, and affected elections, providing penalty, and providing other matters properly thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, to enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 92, end of Section 92, end of bill.
On the amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole.
I have Amendment 782, proposed by the Assembly Committee on Ways and Means.
Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Assembly adopt Assembly Amendment 782 to Assembly Bill 321.
Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson moved the Assembly adopt Amendment 782 to Assembly Bill 321. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Section 89.5 of this bill makes an appropriation to the Office of Secretary of State for the cost of ballot stock, postage, and postcard notifications.
Any further remarks? There being none, all those in favor of the Assembly adopting Amendment 782 to Assembly Bill 321 signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay.
Nay.
Motion carries. Amendments adopted. Any further amendments to the bill?
There are none.
Bill's ordered general file.
Mr. Speaker, Order Business 8.
Order Business 8.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that Assembly Bill 321 be taken from its place on general file and be put to the top of general file.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay.
Nay. Nay.
Motion carries. Go back to Order Business 12.
Assembly Bill 321, introduced by Assemblyman Ferguson and Benitez Thompson, enacting to elections, establishing procedures for the use of mail ballots in every election, establishing various requirements relating to mail ballots, revising the requirements for signature verification of mail ballots, revising the deadline to submit a request for the establishment of a polling place within an Indian reservation or Indian colony for an election, revising the personal data that may be requested if a voter's signature is challenged at the polls, requiring the Secretary of State to enter into a cooperative agreement with the State Registrar of Vital Statistics to obtain certain information relating to the statewide voter registration list, authorizing a county clerk, city clerk, or registrar of voters and deputies thereof charged with powers and duties relating to elections to request certain personal information be maintained in a confidential manner, repealing provisions related to absent ballots, mailing ballots, and affected elections, providing penalty, making an appropriation, and providing other matters properly thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, to enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 92, end of Section 92, end of bill.
On the amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole.
There are none.
Remarks? There being none, the Chief Clerk will open the roll.
Assemblywoman Black, how do you vote on Assembly Bill 321?
No.
Assemblywoman Black has voted no. Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote?
No.
Assemblywoman Dickman has voted no.
Mr. Speaker, Order Business 1.
Order Business 1.
May the record reflect that Assemblywoman Martinez is absent.
The record shall so reflect. Is anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 25 ayes, 16 nays, 1 absent excused. The bill received the constitutional majority. I declare it passed and order transmitted to the Senate.
Assembly Bill 126, introduced by Assemblyman Ferguson et al., an act relating to elections, revising the deadline for a candidate to file a declaration of candidacy, providing for a presidential preference primary election, setting forth requirements and procedures for holding a presidential preference primary election, and providing other matters properly thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 53, end of Section 53, end of bill.
On the amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole.
I have Amendment 784, proposed by the Assembly Committee on Ways and Means.
Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Assembly adopt Assembly Amendment 784 to Assembly Bill 126.
Assemblywoman Benitez Thompson moves the Assembly adopt Amendment 784 to Assembly Bill 126. Remarks?
No. Conforming changes, makes conforming changes throughout the bill.
Any further remarks? All those in favor of the Assembly adopting Amendment 784 to Assembly Bill 126 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay.
Nay.
Motion carries. Amendments adopted. Any further amendments to the bill?
There are none.
Bill's order general file.
Assembly Bill 224, introduced by Assemblyman Duran et al., an act relating to education, requiring that an annual report of accountability prepared by the Board of Trustees of each school district and the governing bodies of certain charter schools include certain information relating to menstrual products, requiring the provision of menstrual products in the bathrooms of certain public schools, requiring the Board of Trustees of each school district and the governing bodies of certain charter schools to develop a plan to address access to menstrual products, requiring the Board of Trustees of each school district and the governing bodies of certain charter schools to submit a report to the legislature, directing the legislative commission to appoint a committee to conduct an interim study concerning access to menstrual products in middle schools, junior high schools, and high schools, and providing other matters properly laid thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, to enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 6, end of Section 6, end of bill.
On the amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole.
I have Amendment 783, proposed by the Assembly Committee on Ways and Means.
Assemblywoman Carlton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would move for the adoption of Amendment 783 to Assembly Bill 224.
Assemblywoman Carlton has moved the Assembly adopt Amendment 783 to Assembly Bill 224. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It addresses that the program that will happen in the middle school, junior high, and high schools that have the highest percentage of pupils who receive free and reduced price lunches for the immediately preceding 3 years.
Any further remarks? There being none, all those in favor of the Assembly adopt Amendment 783 to Assembly Bill 224 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Amendments are adopted. Any further amendments to the bill?
There are none.
Bill's order general file.
Assembly Bill 225, introduced by Assemblyman Tolles et al., Senators Lang and Dennis, an act relating to education, requiring the Commission on Professional Standards in Education to consider alternative means of demonstrating competency for certain persons when adopting regulations governing examinations for the licensure of teachers and other educational personnel, and providing other measures properly laid thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 2, end of Section 2, end of bill.
On the amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole.
There are none.
Remarks? There being none, the Chief Clerk will open the roll.
Assemblywoman Black, how do you vote on Assembly Bill 225?
Yes.
Assemblywoman Black has voted yes. Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote?
Yes.
Assemblywoman Dickman has voted yes.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 41 ayes, 0 nays. Bill received the constitutional majority. Declare passed and order transmitted to Senate.
Assembly Bill 230, introduced by Assemblyman C.H. Mueller et al., Senators Orange et al., an act relating to juvenile justice, eliminating the exclusion of certain offenses from the jurisdiction of the juvenile court, revising provisions relating to the certification of a child for criminal proceedings as an adult, requiring the Legislative Committee on Child Welfare and Juvenile Justice to conduct an interim study concerning the need for and cost of infrastructure for housing certain youthful offenders, and providing other measures properly laid thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 8, end of Section 8, end of bill.
On the amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole.
I have Amendment 781, proposed by the Assembly Committee on Ways and Means.
Assemblywoman Carlton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would move for the adoption of Amendment 781 to Assembly Bill 230.
Assemblywoman Carlton moved that the Assembly adopt Amendment 781 to Assembly Bill 230. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The sponsor has graciously allowed us to delete the references to the study.
Any further remarks? All those in favor of the Assembly adopting Amendment 781 to Assembly Bill 230 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Amendment is adopted. Any further amendments to the bill?
There are none.
Bills ordered general file.
Assembly Bill 363, introduced by Assemblywoman Wynn, an act relating to transient lodging, requiring the governing body of a county or city to establish certain requirements relating to the rental of residential units as transient lodging, requiring certain persons to obtain a permit for the rental of a residential unit as transient lodging, setting forth various requirements to obtain such a permit, requiring certain accommodations, facilitators to collect and remit taxes on the rental of residential units as transient lodging, revising provisions relating to the authority of a county or city to require a hosting platform to provide certain reports and information to the county or city, providing penalty, and providing other matters properly laid thereto. The people's state of Nevada represented in Senate and Assembly to enact as follows. Section 1, end of Section 1. Section 26, end of Section 26, end of bill.
On the amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole.
I have Amendment 789, proposed by the Assembly Committee on Revenue.
Assemblywoman Cohen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move for the adoption of Amendment Number 789 to Assembly Bill 363.
Assemblywoman Cohen has moved. Assembly adopt Amendment 789, Assembly Bill 363. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The amendment limits the provision only to counties whose population is 700,000 or more and the cities within those counties, eliminates the ability for residential units within an apartment building to be rented under these provisions, reduces the minimum rental length for all other residential units from 3 nights to 1 or 2 nights, depending on whether the residential unit is owner occupied or not, reduces the minimum distance between residential rental units from 1,000 feet to 660 feet, revises the occupancy limit for any residential unit to a maximum of 16 people, limits the number of authorizations that may be held by a person to 5 per state business license, allows local governments additional flexibility and authority regarding the enforcement of their local ordinances, changes the effective date from October 1, 2021 to January 1, 2022, and adds an additional sponsor.
Any further remarks? All those in favor of the Assembly adopt Amendment 789, Assembly Bill 363, signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Amendments adopted. Any further amendments to the bill?
There are none.
Bills ordered general file.
Assembly Bill 376, introduced by Senator Torres et al., an act relating to immigration, enacting the Keep Nevada Working Act, creating the Keep Nevada Working Task Force, and establishing the powers and duties of the task force, requiring the Attorney General to publish model policies relating to immigration, requiring state and local law enforcement agencies, public schools, institutions of higher education, healthcare facilities, and courthouses to take certain actions relating to the model policies published by the Attorney General, making an appropriation and providing other matters properly laid thereto. The people of the state of Nevada represented in Senate and Assembly to enact as follows. Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 26.5, end of Section 26.5, end of bill.
On the amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole.
There are none.
Remarks? There being none, the Chief Clerk will open the roll.
Assemblywoman Black, how do you vote on Assembly Bill 376?
No.
Assemblywoman Black has voted no. Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote?
No.
Assemblywoman Dickman has voted no.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There were 25 ayes, 16 nays, 1 absent. Excused. Bill having seen the constitutional majority, declare passed and order transmitted to the Senate.
Assembly Bill.
Assemblywoman Venus Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If I could take Senate Bill 458 from its place on general file and be placed to the top of general file.
On order of business 8,
Order of Business 8.
you've all heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Oh, wait a minute,
Hold on that.
438?
I rescind that motion. One minute recess.
1 minute recess. Assembly will come back to order. Go back to order business 4.
Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Ways and Means, to which was referred Senate Bill 458, has had the same under consideration and begs leave to report the same act. The recommendation do pass. Maggie Carlton, Chair.
Go to order business, you want to do 8 or 12?
8. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Under Order Business 8,
Order business 8.
I move that Senate Bill 458, just reported out of committee, be placed at the top of general file.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Now we go to order business 12.
Senate Bill 458, introduced by the Committee on Finance and Equity to Education, ensuring sufficient funding for K-12 public education for the 2021-2023 biennium, apportioning the state education fund for the 2021-2023 biennium, authorizing certain expenditures, making appropriations relating to base per pupil funding, weighted funding, and other educational purposes, replacing provisions relating to the pupil-centered funding plan, and providing elements appropriately thereto. The people stated that are represented in Senate and Assembly to enact as follows. Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 34, end of Section 34, end of bill.
On the amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole.
There are none.
Remarks? Assemblywoman Carlton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a very long floor statement, so I am going to abbreviate it, but we'll be happy to stand for questions if the body needs any more clarification. Senate Bill 458 provides funding for K-12 public education for the 21-23 biennium. The total public support for school districts, charter schools, and universities for profoundly gifted pupils for the support of public schools is estimated at $10,204 per pupil in 2022 and $10,290 in fiscal year 2023. Section 3 appropriates $1.4 billion in the first year and $1.2 billion in the second year of the 21-23 biennium of state general fund to the pupil-centered funding plan account of the state education fund. Section 4 authorizes other revenues of $3 billion in 22 and $3.2 billion in fiscal year 23 to be received and expended for the state support of K-12 public education. These other revenues include, but are not limited to, in-state and out-of-state local school support tax, public schools operating property tax, governmental services tax, an annual excise tax on slot machines, transfers from the permanent school fund, revenue from mineral leases on federal land, room tax revenue, recreational marijuana, retail excise tax, and transfers from the Cannabis Compliance Board. Section 5 and 6 require the department to transfer total funding of $201.3 million in fiscal year 22 and $201.5 million in fiscal year 23 to school districts for food services and transportation, and total funding of $44.2 million in fiscal year 22 and $442.4 million in fiscal year 23 for local funding for pupils with disabilities. The statewide base per pupil funding is $6,980 per pupil in fiscal year 2022 and $7,074 per pupil in fiscal year 2023. Enrollment is projected to slightly increase from 484,892 pupils in fiscal year 2022 to 485,900 pupils in fiscal year 2023. Section 5 and 6 further provide additional weighted funding for each learner at risk, gifted, and talented pupil estimated to be enrolled in a public school, which is expressed as a multiplier or weight to the statewide base per pupil. The multiplier for English learner pupils is 0.24 in 22 and 0.23 in 23, for total funding of $85 million and $85.1 million, respectively. The multiplier for at-risk students is 0.03 each fiscal year for total funding of $60.3 million in 22 and $60.4 million in 23. The multiplier for gifted and talented is 0.12 each fiscal year for total funding of $6.7 million in fiscal year 22 and $6.8 million in fiscal year 23. Section 7 provides general fund appropriations of $224.7 million in fiscal year 22 and $230.3 million in fiscal year 23 for the state support of pupils with disabilities. In addition, revenues of $2 million in each year for the 21-23 biennium are authorized for expenditures to provide additional support for extraordinarily high-cost pupils with disabilities. Section 8 provides general fund appropriations total $37.4 million in each year of the 21-23 biennium to the other state education program budget. Sections 9, 10, and 13 include total funding in the amount of $7.3 million in each year of 21-23 biennium for the professional development programs. I'm going to skip a couple of the sections. Section 15 appropriates $2.4 million in each fiscal year and authorizes $4 million in fiscal year 2022 and $4.1 million in fiscal year 2023 to continue the Teach Nevada Scholarship Program. Section 16 clarifies that the net proceeds of minerals in fiscal year 2021 is deemed as a revenue source for the State Education Fund. Section 18 revises the hold harmless provisions related to student enrollment. Section 19 appropriates $50 million from the State General Fund to the Education Stabilization Account as a loan to the account to provide seed money for the account in order to make funds available for any future needs or transfers from the account after July 1st of 2021. Section 25 creates a separate tier in the pupil-centered funding plan for local funding to support pupils with disabilities and requires applying an attendance area adjustment to the statewide base per pupil funding amount to be calculated and adjusted on a base per pupil. The rest of the sections are conforming language with implementation dates. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would stand for any questions with the notation to the body. I did not cover every section, but I think we covered the highlights.
Any further remarks? There being none, the Chief Clerk will open the roll.
Assemblywoman Black, how do you vote on Senate Bill 458?
Yes.
Assemblywoman Black has voted yes. Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote on Senate Bill 458?
Yes.
Assemblywoman Dickman has voted yes.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 41 ayes, 0 nays, 1 absent. Excused. The bill having received the constitutional majority, declare passed and order transmitted to the Senate.
Mr. Speaker, order business 8.
Order business 8.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that Assembly Bill 427, Assembly Bill 126, Assembly Bill 224, and Assembly Bill 230 be taken from their place in general file and be moved to the top of general file.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Back to order business 12.
Assembly Bill 427, introduced by the Committee on Judiciary and Act relating to Public Safety, revising provisions relating to the revocation of the license, permit, or privilege of a driver, revising provisions concerning the issuance of a restricted driver's license, authorizing the Department of Motor Vehicles to issue an ignition interlock privilege to certain persons in lieu of a restricted driver's license, establishing provisions concerning ignition interlock devices, requiring the Director of the Department of Public Safety to establish the ignition interlock program and adopt rules and regulations necessary to carry out the program, establishing the account for the ignition interlock program, requiring the Department of Public Safety to adopt regulations establishing certain reasonable fees relating to ignition interlock devices, transferring certain duties from the Committee on Testing for Intoxication to the Department of Public Safety, revising various provisions concerning offenders who commit a violation of driving under the influence of alcohol or a prohibited substance, revising provisions relating to the statewide sobriety and drug monitoring program, authorizing a person who commits a first violation within 7 years of driving under the influence of alcohol or a prohibited substance to be sentenced to residential confinement in lieu of imprisonment, revising provisions relating to certain programs of treatment established by courts, providing penalties, and providing other measures properly thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 46, end of Section 46, end of bill.
On the amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole.
There are none.
Remarks? There being none, the Chief Clerk will open the roll.
Assemblywoman Black, how do you vote on Assembly Bill 427?
No.
Assemblywoman Black has voted no. Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote?
No.
Assemblywoman Dickman has voted no.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 30 ayes, 11 nays, 1 absent. Excused. The bill having received the constitutional majority, declare passed and order transmitted to the Senate.
Assembly Bill 126, introduced by Assemblyman Frierson et al., an act relating to elections, providing for the presidential preference primary election, setting forth requirements and procedures for holding a presidential preference primary election, and providing other matters properly relating thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 53, end of Section 53, end of bill.
On the amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole.
There are none.
Remarks? There being none, the Chief Clerk will open the roll.
Assemblywoman Black, how do you vote on Assembly Bill 126?
No.
Assemblywoman Black has voted no. How do you vote, Assemblywoman Dickman?
No.
Assemblywoman Dickman has voted no.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 30 ayes, 11 nays, 1 absent. Excused. The bill having received the constitutional majority, declare passed and order transmitted to the Senate.
Assembly Bill 224, introduced by Assemblyman Duran et al. An act relating to education requiring that the annual report of accountability prepared by the Board of Trustees of each school district and the governing bodies of certain charter schools include certain information related to menstrual products, requiring the provision of menstrual products in the bathrooms of certain public schools, requiring the Board of Trustees of each school district and the governing bodies of certain charter schools to develop a plan to address access to menstrual products, requiring the Board of Trustees of each school district and the governing bodies of certain charter schools to submit a report to the legislature, directing the legislative commission to appoint a committee to conduct an interim study concerning access to menstrual products in middle schools, junior high schools, and high schools, and providing other matters properly laid thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, to enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 6, end of Section 6, end of vote.
All right, amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole.
There are none.
Remarks? There being none, the Chief Clerk will open the roll.
Assemblywoman Black, how do you vote on Assembly Bill 224?
Yes.
Assemblywoman Black has voted yes. Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote?
Yes.
Assemblywoman Dickman has voted yes.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 41 ayes, 0 nays, 1 absent. Excused. The bill having received the constitutional majority, declare passed and order transmitted to the Senate.
Assembly Bill 230, introduced by Assemblyman C.H. Miller et al., Senators Orange et al., and act relating to juvenile justice, limiting the exclusion of certain offenses from the jurisdiction of the juvenile court, revising provisions relating to the certification of a child for criminal proceedings as an adult, and providing other matters properly laying thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 8, end of Section 8, end of bill.
Are there amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Remarks? Assemblyman Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Assembly Bill 230, as amended, revises the jurisdiction of the juvenile court. This bill provides certain offenses involving the use or threatened use of force or violence, and an offense or attempted offense involving the use or threatened use of a firearm under the jurisdiction of the juvenile court rather than the criminal justice system. In addition, the mandatory certification of a child as an adult for these offenses is eliminated, and instead, the measure provides for the discretionary certification for a child for criminal proceedings as an adult for all offenses over which the juvenile court has exclusive jurisdiction. Order of Business 15, Mr. Speaker.
Order of Business 15.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Family. It's about time for us to eliminate the route of taking our kids out of school and placing them in the criminal justice system. Locking up children doesn't help to keep crime off our streets. All it does is give a negative impact for generations on all sectors of our community. Juvenile systems are about rehabilitation versus incarceration. And one thing that I have learned since being in this body, there isn't much we all agree on. But we are all passionate about protecting our youth and giving them every opportunity to be successful. Even our most challenged kids should be kids. And we all agree on that, at least most of us so far, with the 30 legislators from both houses and both parties that have all signed on to support this bill. And when we vote on it tonight, it will continue to move on. So I strongly urge your support of AB 230, and let's take this huge step of eliminating the prison to the school to prison pipeline together as we move forward with this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further remarks? There being none, Chief Clerk, open the roll.
Assemblywoman Black, how do you vote on Assembly Bill 230?
Yes.
Assemblywoman Black has voted yes. Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote on Assembly Bill 230?
Yes.
Assemblywoman Dickman has voted yes.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 41 ayes, 0 nays, 1 absent. Excused. The bill having received the constitutional majority, declare passed and order transmitted to the Senate.
You were reading my mind. Mr. Speaker, order of business number 8.
Order of Business 8.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that Assembly Bill 363 be taken from its place in general file and be put to the top of general file.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Order Business 12.
Assembly Bill 363, introduced by Assemblymen Wynn and Roberts, an act relating to transient lodging, requiring the governing bodies of certain counties and cities to establish certain requirements relating to the rental of residential units as transient lodging, requiring certain persons to obtain an authorization for the rental of a residential unit as transient lodging, setting forth various requirements to obtain such an authorization, requiring certain accommodation facilitators to collect and remit taxes on the rental of residential units as transient lodging, revising provisions relating to the authority of a county or city to require a hosting platform to provide certain reports and information to the county or city, and providing otherwise properly named thereto. The people of the state of Nevada represented in Senate and Assembly do enact as follows. Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 27, end of Section 27, end of bill.
Are there amendments to Section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Remarks? There being none, the Chief Clerk will open the roll.
Assemblywoman Black, how do you vote on Assembly Bill 363?
No.
Assemblywoman Black has voted no. Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote on Assembly Bill 363?
No.
Assemblywoman Dickman has voted no.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 30 ayes, 11 nays. Bill exceeds the constitutional majority. Declare passed and order transmitted to the Senate.
Mr. Speaker, I would move that the Assembly stand in recess until the call of the chair.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are in recess.
All right. And Ways and Means members are back to Ways.
Ms. Benitez Thompson. Testing. Yep.
The Assembly will come back to order. We'll go to order business 4.
Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Ways and Means, to which was referred Assembly Bill 494, has had the same under consideration and begs leave to report the same back. The recommendation do pass. And your Committee on Ways and Means, to which were re-referred Assembly Bills 319, 416, has had the same under consideration and begs leave to report the same back. The recommendation and do pass is amended. Maggie Carlton, Chair.
Mr. Speaker, under Order Business 8.
Order business 8.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that Assembly Bill 494 be taken from its place on general file and be placed onto the Chief Clerk's desk.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
And then, Mr. Speaker, just under Order Business 15 real quick.
Order business 15.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We've placed Assembly Bill 494 onto the Chief Clerk's desk. This bill makes various changes regarding the State Financial Administration and the appropriations for the support of civil government of state. It is the tradition of the Assembly to leave it on the Chief Clerk's desk for at least 24 hours so that all members of the body have a chance to read it. Also, all members of the public. We have no intention to take action on this bill in less than 24 hours. It is an important bill as it is the appropriations for our state government. So we encourage all members to read it. We encourage the public to read it. And we believe we are giving sufficient time for that to happen. Mr. Speaker, we can go back to Order Business 12.
Go to order business 12.
Assembly Bill 319, introduced by Assemblyman Robertson Hadigi, an act relating to education requiring the College of Southern Nevada to establish a pilot program to enhance opportunities for pupils to enroll in dual credit courses and providing other measures properly thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 5, end of Section 5, end of bill.
Are the members of Section 1 of the bill to hold?
I have Amendment 792 proposed by the Assembly Committee on Ways and Means.
Assemblywoman Carlton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would move for the adoption of Amendment 792 to Assembly Bill 319.
Assemblywoman Carlton has moved that Assembly adopt Amendment 792 to Assembly Bill 319. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The amendment creates a pilot program.
Any further remarks? All those in favor of Assembly adopt Amendment 792 to Assembly Bill 319 signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. The amendment is adopted. Any further amendments to the bill?
There are none.
Bill's ordered general file.
Assembly Bill 416, introduced by the Committee on Education, an act relating to higher education requiring the legislative auditor to conduct an audit of the Nevada system of higher education and providing other measures properly thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 3, end of Section 3, end of bill.
Are the members of Section 1 of the bill to hold?
I have Amendment 796 proposed by the Assembly Committee on Ways and Means.
Assemblywoman Carlton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would move for the adoption of Amendment 796 to Assembly Bill 416.
Assemblywoman Carlton has moved that Assembly adopt Amendment 796 to Assembly Bill 416. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It changes the date that the audit will be done, and it makes an appropriation to the legislative fund for the expenses in doing the audit.
Any further remarks? There being none, all those in favor of Assembly adopting Amendment 796 to Assembly Bill 416 signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. The amendment is adopted. Any further amendments to the bill?
There are none.
Bill's ordered general file.
Senate Bill 219, introduced by Senator Canizaro, an act relating to offenses, replacing provisions relating to the collection of delinquent fines, administrative assessments, fees, and restitution, replacing provisions relating to the suspension of a driver's license of a person, making an appropriation and providing other measures properly thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 6, end of Section 6, end of bill.
All right, members of Section 1 of the bill to hold.
I have Amendment 790 proposed by the Assembly Committee on Judiciary.
Assemblyman Yeager.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the Assembly adopt Amendment 790 to Senate Bill 219.
Assemblyman Yeager has moved that the Assembly adopt Amendment 790 to Senate Bill 219. Remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The amendment adds a joint sponsor to the bill.
Any further remarks? All those in favor of the Assembly adopt Amendment 790 to Senate Bill 219 signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. The amendment is adopted. Any further amendments to the bill?
There are none.
Bills order general file. We go to order business 8. Assemblywoman Benita Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Under Order Business 8, I move that Assembly Bill 319 and Assembly Bill 416 be taken from their place on general file and be placed to the top of general file.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Go back to order business 12.
Assembly Bill 319, introduced by Assemblyman Robertson Hadagi, enacted into education requiring the College of Southern Nevada to establish a pilot program to enhance opportunities for pupils to enroll in dual credit courses and providing other measures relating thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, to enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 5, end of Section 5, end of bill.
Any amendments to section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Remarks? There being none, the chief clerk will open the roll.
Assemblywoman Black, how do you vote on Assembly Bill 319? Assemblywoman Black?
Mr. Speaker, Order Business 1.
Order business 1.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May the record reflect that Assemblywoman Black is absent.
Record shall so reflect.
Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote on Assembly Bill 319?
Yes.
Assemblywoman Dickman has voted yes.
Anyone
I am
wishing?
not absent.
Mr. Speaker, Order Business 1.
Order business 1.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May the record reflect that Assemblywoman Black is present.
Record shall so reflect.
Assemblywoman Black, how do you
Yes.
vote on Assembly Bill 319? You vote yes.
Yes.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 41 ayes, 0 nays, 1 absent. Excuse Bill 19, the Constitution majority, declare passed and order transmitted to the Senate.
Assembly Bill 416, introduced by the Committee on Education, enacted into higher education, requiring the legislative auditor to conduct an audit of the Nevada system of higher education, making an appropriation and providing other measures relating thereto. The people of the state of Nevada, represented in Senate and Assembly, to enact as follows: Section 1, end of Section 1, Section 3, end of Section 3, end of bill.
Any members to section 1 of the bill as a whole?
There are none.
Remarks? There being none, the chief clerk will open the roll.
Assemblywoman Black, how do you vote on Assembly Bill 416?
Yes.
Assemblywoman Black has voted yes. Assemblywoman Dickman, how do you vote?
Yeah. Yes.
Assemblywoman Dickman has voted yes.
Anyone wishing to change their vote? There are 41 ayes, 0 nays, 1 absent. Excuse Bill 19, the Constitution majority, declare passed and order transmitted to the Senate. Assemblywoman Benita Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that all the Senate bills on general file be taken from their place on general file and be placed onto general file for the next legislative day.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Do we have a bill signing, or is this old? All right, so order business 13. All right, I'll go to order business 13. There being no objection, the Speaker and the Chief Clerk will sign Assembly Bills 19, 42, 57, 71, 84, 85, 88, 104, 105, 115, 158, 177, 181, 200, 202, 207, 214, 222, 237, 250, 277, 286, 287, 290, 298, 327, 345, 394, 400, and 436, Assembly Resolution 7, and Senate Bills 4, 44, 49, 67, 75, 77, 95, 103, 109, 150, 166, 173, 177, 179, 186, 188, 190, 196, 203, 209, 215, 217, 222, 229, 237, 245, 248, 249, 260, 269, 275, 283, 288, 293, 294, 307, 320, 327, 329, 332, 344, 352, 354, 358, 359, 360, 383, 387, 391, 396, 404, and 406. We'll go to order business 15. Assemblywoman Tolles.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Order of Business 15.
Order business 15.
I just want to say a quick happy birthday to my daughter, Riley. She is off at college, and she's turning 20 today. And it's my first time being away from her on her birthday, so I promised her I'd wish her a happy birthday from the floor. Thank you.
Assemblywoman Cohen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to wish a happy birthday to my grandma Min, who is 101 today. Definitely not watching. But as a reminder, if you do the math, she was born the year women got the right to vote. So thank you for that.
Assemblywoman Benita Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Seeing no other business before us, I would, one announcement though. Sorry. We really got 5? You got 5 proclamations. You want to do 5 proclamations right now? No. So, Mr. Speaker, seeing no other official business before us right now, I would move that the Assembly stand adjourned until Thursday, May 27th at the hour of 11 a.m.
You heard the motion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are adjourned.